So now we need to define the toStrings in all of our classes. And you might be asking yourself, why? Who cares, right? Why should I do that? Well, first off, like right here, if we have the toStrings defined in all of our classes, we could do a system.out.println, right? And then put comp in there. And what is that going to do? That's going to run the toString for comp, which is going to have a for loop that runs the toString on all the banking objects, right? All of these guys. And then if this guy's toString is made, then he's going to have a for loop that runs each of the client's toStrings, right? So it's going to come here, run his toString, concatenate, 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 and it's going to run through all of these, returning the results of all of the toStrings of all the clients, and then it's going to print out all the clients' information, right? So if we had that, then we could check if all of this work here actually worked, right? If we don't have the toStrings, then we just have to kind of go by faith that everything was built correctly. Okay. So, yeah, how do we make our toStrings? Well, we probably want to start with our lowest object on the hierarchy here. So we want to start with our clients. So we come over, where are we coming? Over to, so we're coming, oh my goodness. Okay, we're coming over here, and we go to our client, and then we write his toString, right? So public string toString, and you want to remember that toString is part of the big three, right? So you definitely always want to go ahead and code that before you get started. What are the big three? Instance variables, constructor, toString, right? And what is this going to do? It's going to return a string that has the values of the instance variables in a user-friendly format. So it's going to say first name, and then the value of the instance variable first name, and then last name, then the value of the instance variable last name, and so on, right? And then we're going to return a string. Okay, and then if we have that set up, then we want to move up one level to branch banking. Now this one gets a little bit tricky, right? Well, kind of tricky, but you guys should have gone through examples of this in problem set 4. So we're going to say public string toString, right? And we are going to create a for each loop, because in order for branch banking to correctly return the value of its instance variables, it needs to scroll through its array list of clients running the toString of each of the clients, right? And concatenating the results of all of those clients. So how do we do that? Well, we need to use a for each loop, right? So we've got to go to Java for each. We'll get one of these, copy it, come back over here, paste him in, and of course we need to put the type of object here, right? The data type, client. And then here is going to be the array list. Our array list is called C, so we're going to put C there. And then here we're going to say client, right? Lowercase. So then for the first iteration of this for loop, client is going to be equal to the first client in this array list, right? Graphically speaking, it's going to be this guy right here. Then the next iteration, client is going to be equal to the second client in the array list, then the third one, and the fourth one, and then the for each loop is going to stop, right? So what we want to do is we want to run the toString of each of those clients in order. So how do we do that? Well, we come over here, and you might be thinking, well, I run the toString by system printlning, right? So I do that. But then how can I like concatenate the results of the system println to a string, because this toString needs to return a string, right? You might be thinking that. Well, we're not going to run toString using system println in this case here, right? That's only to be used, I guess, when you're in the main function, right, or the main method. So what you want to do here is create a string variable that's going to be empty. We want to use double quotes because this is a string. So empty string, and then when we're in here, you're going to run the toString of each client. So it's going to be object client dot toString, like that, right? And we want to run this, but we want to concatenate it as we roll through the for loop, as we iterate to this string here, right? And so how do we concatenate onto it? You use it like a counting variable, same variable on both sides of the equal sign. S is equal to S plus the results of the toString, right? So yeah, if you want to create a toString where the object has a array list instance variable, this is the way that you need to do it, right? And S is going to be constantly growing as we iterate through this for loop, as we go through the clients, and then at the end of it you want to return S, right? So yeah, and then when we define the corporate office toString, that's the same deal because we have an array list here, so we need a for each through this array list B. We got to concatenate the results onto an empty string S, and then we return that empty string S, right, which will not be empty anymore. It'll be filled with the results of the toString of each branch banking object, right? So this guy here's toString is going to run the toString of each of its branch banking objects. When it does run the toString of the first one, that is going to for each through the array list of clients, running the toString of each of the clients. And we are taking the results of all these toStrings and concatenating it onto an empty string, right? So that returns a string with all of these clients' information. And then he is going to return here. No, he is going to iterate through the for loop a second time and come here and then run the toStrings of all his clients and then return that. And then come here, iterate through all the clients, return the results here, return the results. And this whole time through this for each loop, we're concatenating on to the empty S variable, right? And then we're going to print out everything when it comes back up into the main method, right? So that's kind of how that goes, and good luck doing that. How will you know if you did that successfully? Well, you would come over here, you would compile your tester. Let's ignore that for now. You would compile your tester, you would run it, and this system.out.println will print out all 16 clients' information onto the screen.